James Lester, CW04. And then from Charleston, I found out I made chief, and then we got transferred to the Simon Lake, which at that time was at the weapons station in Charleston. That was in '79. And then we went to the March of '79, we went to the Simon Lake at the weapons station, put on chief, did my chief stuff there, and we went from Charleston to Kings Bay in July of '79. So we opened up Kings Bay down in Georgia in July of '79, and then started refitting boats out of there. And then we spent almost 5 years in Kings Bay refitting submarines, and then that was my most enjoyable, even though it seemed like, you know, having come off of the Spear, I thought we were really busy on the Spear, but there we were just dealing with fast attacks, and their mission was to go out and hunt things down. Whereas when we went to the FBMs, Fleet Ballistic Missile Submarines, and when I was on the Spear, we went over to Scotland for 3 months, had TAD to Scotland. And that was the first time I was involved with a ship that just worked on FBMs. And over in Holy Lock, I mean, you're doing three things. You was either eating, sleeping, or on the beach having a drink before you had to come back, because it was it was steady all the time. You just in 3 sections every night, every third night you had the duty, and you're just going to work all night because you knew the boats over there, they were going to sea. So we did everything we could do, and that kind of gave me some insight. So when I got transferred to the Simon Lake, I had an idea of what we were going to be dealing with. And then sure enough, that's the way it was. We spent we had a week of turnover when we got into Kings Bay, because when we got down there, the base, there was absolutely nothing there. It had been an Army ammunition base, and there was nothing there, absolutely nothing. And then some of the troops was living at the state park in tents. The Navy started renting housing in Jacksonville, Florida, and Brunswick, Georgia, and they were busing the troops from their house to the base. We work them during the day. They put them back on, get back on the bus, and then they'd go either to Brunswick or to Jacksonville, depending on where they lived. And very difficult, because you couldn't work them if they were riding the bus back and forth to work. Then they had to get on the bus and go home. We were living in St. Mary's. We had gone down there. We'd gone down there in December of '78, because we knew we were getting transferred. So we went down there Christmas Christmas holidays of '78, and we went down there to look for a place. Well, we drove down, and it just so happened that night that we were, the day that we went down was they played the Gator Bowl game in Jacksonville. There wasn't a hotel available between Brunswick, Georgia, and St. Augustine, Florida. Everything is booked up because people coming to the Gator Bowl. And that was the Woody Hayes in Ohio State. That was the night that he punched some player. That was, but we ended up sleeping in a truck. I know there was a little Jack's Market, kind of like a 7-Eleven, but it was called Jack's. And I asked a person, I said, we can't find anywhere to sleep. Can it alright if I just park the truck here and we're going to sleep in the cab of the truck? I says, yeah, that's all right. So we ended up staying in the truck. We looked around the next day. We found something. We filled out some paperwork to see about getting a house, and then we finally got. That was before I even checked aboard the ship. And then after we got the ship down there, we were the house, they got started with the house, and took about 4 or 5 months for them to get the house done. We ended up spending 3 months at the Stardust Lodge in Woodbine, Georgia, which was about 15 or 20 miles from St. Mary's. And it was $50 a night, $50 a week the board charged us to stay in that. Had one room. We told them we didn't need room service. And we had a little microwave, but we couldn't use the microwave because every time we plug it in and turn it on, it'd blow the circuit breaker. So we had to eat out. But you know, for $50, what can you say? And it was air conditioned. That's about all. And down there, golly, it was warm. It was warm. So, and when we first moved into the house, for the first 4 or 5 months, the roads weren't blacktop. And if it rained, the cars would get stuck because it was the mud was so bad. And the city stationed a tractor at the end of the hard surface, so if you got stuck, they'd come in and pull you out.
Wow. And
when we first got down there, we were on a full-party phone line. We didn't have, you know, you just in Norfolk and Charleston, it was just a SOP. You had private lines, but down there, you was on a full-party line. But it took about 6 months, and then we got a private line. And then I was chief. I was running the machine shop then. Man, we didn't have cell phones or anything back then. I didn't even have a pager, but you know, we did have a phone. So it seemed like every time I got home, there was calling saying something was broke. We'd done something wrong. 38 shop had done something wrong. You know, we had to go back and do. You know, it was always something that was an emergency, and we had to go back, and so it was constantly going from the house back to the ship. But luckily, we lived right outside the back gate, so I could even ride my bicycle to the ship. And that was you know, coming in the back gate and going down the ship wasn't too far. But then years, you know, after we'd been there for a couple of years, they changed the arc, and then you had to go around to the front of the base, and that was a serious detour for me because I couldn't ride my bike then. I had to drive the car then.